Okay, so welcome once again to our UC Berkeley Online MPH Interdisciplinary Information session. Once again, we'll start with introductions. We'll go over UC Berkeley's mission, vision, our values. We'll talk about some of the program structure, things like timeline. Evan will share with us more about the interdisciplinary curriculum. We'll go over fees and scholarships that are available. We'll talk about the admissions process and the admissions requirements. We'll also talk about some of our student outcomes. And then we'll provide some time for Q&A at the end. And let's kick things off by introducing Dr. Evan Van Domelen Gonzalez, who is not only the faculty lead for our interdisciplinary concentration, but she's also the academic director for our online MPH program. So really honored to have you on the call, Evan. Her research interests include community organization and participatory research approaches, place health and social networks, mixed methods research, the intersection of young adult health and social environments, and immigrant community health and worker justice. She teaches 2 of our online MPH courses, the Health and Social Behavior course and the Interdisciplinary seminar. She also teaches the first-year DRPH seminar and the Community Engagement in Public Health micro course. So really excited to have you on, Evan. I'm not sure if there's any more you would like to share or add for the group.
Thank you so much, Elise. Yes, well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for your interest in public health. Public health is an incredible field. We need as many folks involved as possible in really addressing some of these seemingly intractable public health challenges we face. Requires not only thinking outside the box, but thinking outside the warehouse, as a mentor of mine had explained. And thinking about how we can really partner with communities and address issues of importance to community. And many of the folks that I talk with and much of my mentorship around public health has been in the vein of understanding this work as a social justice profession, so that you come in as a social change professional. And I think that that's a large part of the lens that we bring to the program as a whole, but also to the interdisciplinary option. And so the largest program option in our online MPH is the interdisciplinary program option. And I think that's largely because many of our community of learners, everybody who joins our program, is often coming with a wealth of experience before. So this is really geared towards and supports through a really flexible and remote learning environment, a place for young, early professionals, mid-career and really late career folks to come together and think about how to address different public health issues locally in their communities and in real time. And so the interdisciplinary option in particular offers the opportunity for students in the program to essentially tailor their course maps in a way that makes the most sense of the skills that the tools they come in with, and what they want their toolbox to look like when they finish. And so we think about our toolbox, we think about what courses will provide the frameworks, the methods, the content depth that will help me really address the public health issues I'm most passionate about, or that are of greatest need in the community where I live and work. And so the way that works is that after the first year, there's a first year where everybody's taking the required courses, really to introduce everybody to the different fields of public health. And then in your second and third year, you're really thinking about, what courses do I want to take? And do I want to join and sort of group together courses that are from different fields? So interdisciplinary, students in the interdisciplinary option will think sometimes about, I want to group this series of courses from global health and this series of courses from epidemiology and biostatistics, or spatial data science, or health policy and epidemiology. And so there's a way to think about grouping different types of courses together from different fields. For some people, they're in a position where they are planning to use this career as a launch into another position within their organization, and may have very specific ideas of the types of skills they want to develop, and really can think about each semester deciding in real time which courses make the most sense for what I'm going to be working on during this period in work, or what I can see coming up in the next several months. This course would make a lot of sense for me to have, so I can really lift the skills, the methods from that course and apply those in real time. For some people who are thinking about this course, this course map as a way to pivot into public health. So maybe working in another field. We'll say in public health that often everything is public health, education, law, people working in urban health and transportation, people working, across many different sectors are all touching public health in some way. But there are folks who may be pivoting careers. And so this can also be a great path to think about, how do we build on your current skill set and really tailor your course map to make sense for this next direction. And that's really in conjunction with our career advising team, and really thinking about how you can apply that in your practicum, which we'll come to later. For some folks, they're not really so interested in necessarily changing their job, but they really want to have a public health lens to help transform how they're doing their current work. And so the interdisciplinary option allows for thinking broadly about what that might look like. And again, thinking about what is the context you're working in, who are the populations you're working with, what is your current work, what does it look like to transform, and how might we tailor a course map to make that work. And so that's a little bit different from other concentrations that are much more structured, where you have required courses and you move along a kind of a very structured trajectory. Interdisciplinary really allows you to pick and choose as you move through the program, and that's done in conjunction with advising. It also really honors the fact that we work often in interdisciplinary teams and across different fields. Many of the most complex public health issues require a broad range of viewpoints and folks at the table. So it helps us to ask always, when we're sort of forming a team to work on an issue, who's the missing voice? Who needs to be here? I will argue always we need to have community partners, people who know best about what's happening in their communities, if we're joining a team that may be outside of our community. So these are all ways to think about how the interdisciplinary option will work. And again, it is our largest, I think, and that's because many folks are coming in already with such a wealth of experience. And so I think I'll pause there, but those are some of the features. And is there anything else I should add at this time, Elise, or is that good?
No, I think that was a fabulous introduction. And we'll have opportunity, to have you kind of talk, I think, more specifically about a lot of the things that you brought up as well. So I'll just do a brief high-level overview of Berkeley Public Health's mission, our values. So really, our mission is healthy people locally and globally, extending Berkeley's reach to improve population health, especially for the most vulnerable, and providing the tools to address the pressing public health challenges of our time. I think, Evan really touched on this, and Evan, I think you bring a really excellent framework of, seeing public health as social justice. And I think that's really part of our mission and our values here at Berkeley Public Health. So we achieve healthy people locally and globally through innovative and transformative online learning with a rigorous and interactive curriculum, a flexible educational experience that aligns with the needs of working professionals, and empowering public health change makers to improve health where they live and in real time. So the fact that Berkeley Public Health offers the online MPH is actually, it's part of our goal of achieving this mission. We want people to be able to create impact in the communities they already live in without having to relocate to the Bay Area or, to Berkeley to attend classes and get this educational experience. So we really want to empower you to be a change maker where you are in the community that you're already a part of. We value service in community, showing up with authenticity, growth rooted in justice and equity, cultivating connection through learning, and centering wellness. All right, so just a high-level overview of our program design. The online MPH is a 42-unit program, which spans 27 months or 7 semesters. On average, students typically take 6 units, which is around 2 classes each semester. And then the program is actually, we call it the online MPH. It is actually 90% online asynchronous coursework, 10% in person. And what that looks like is, so again, 90% of your coursework will be online, asynchronous, but you'll have the opportunity to participate in 2 campus visits that are part of the program. So each year you will do 1 campus visit. The upcoming visits are, or your first year visit is 5 to 6 days, and your second year visit is around 8 to 10 days. So those tend to be really fulfilling, rewarding parts of the program for our students. It's an opportunity to meet your cohort members in person, to meet the faculty in person, and really engage with the folks that you've been working alongside in the program up to that point. Once again, this is an asynchronous program. The majority of our students are working professionals. We know you have families, work, other responsibilities outside of school. So our goal is to make the program as accessible as possible, given your life stage and other responsibilities you might have going on. And then we estimate that students spend around 15 to 17 hours a week completing their assignments. And then this is a professional degree. So, if that's something you're curious about, it's a professional degree program. And the degree you'd be earning is an MPH. The diploma does not say online MPH. This is a UC Berkeley MPH program. All right, so this is a little bit of the program timeline. Again, it's 7 semesters in total, and typically the way courses, again, you'll take 2 courses on average each semester. Your first 2 semesters, you'll take 2 courses simultaneously, and then your subsequent semesters, you'll actually do 2 courses consecutively in those semesters. And you'll see on this slide some examples of the different formats you can take. So the 7 semesters is kind of the most traditional pathway that folks take. There is an option to do an accelerated pathway and complete the program in 6 semesters. Or if you find that you need a break for whatever reason while you're doing the program, you can extend to 8 or more semesters if you find that you need, you just need a semester off because of whatever life circumstances might be going on. Evan, I just wanted to invite you, is there anything else you would add in terms of program timeline?
Sure. Thank you, Elise. I just want to probably say a couple of things. One, about this timeline, I hope this helps to also illustrate one of the features of the program, which is really our flexibility. And we would hope that this is also an approach that we want folks to model if they're working in partnership with communities as well. Flexibility is an important an important skill to have and practice. I would say that in terms of the first example that's coded as traditional, there are some courses that we have that may be semester long that you would pair up, and those tend to be if for the interdisciplinary students who may elect to do one of the 4 unit biostatistics courses or epi courses. And so depending on, and we work through that through advising, if you do that, you might have you might be taking a half-term course, summer, a fall one course and a semester course, and together they add up to 6 units, for instance. In terms of the accelerated, there are a couple of other requirements for that. And so you work that really involve a conversation with your advisor. Does it make sense to double up? Can I protect the time to do that? Taking 2 accelerated courses at once can work, but it's probably, about 30 hours a week of coursework. So this is done in partnership with your advisor to think about if that's a good choice. And then in the last one, we have about 1 in 5 students that may take some sort of break over their time in the program. It could be a full term break where they may focus on their practicum. They may not be fully disengaged from the program. They might also take 1 course instead of 2 courses. So there's different ways to think about that. But we have a really smooth process for getting folks back re-enrolled after they take a pause. And there's 2 other milestones that are not included on this slide, but are the practicum, which we'll talk a little bit about. That's the applied practice component requirement, and that has to be complete in your final to last term. So in the top example, it would be completed in that second summer, by the end of that second summer. And then our capstone is a comprehensive exam, and that is completed in your final term. So in that top example, it would be in the fall. And I work with students in that process as well. So I get to meet folks at the beginning through health and social behavior. That's one of the first courses graduate students take in our program. And then I also work with students as they prepare for their comprehensive exam. So it's very exciting for me. And I just wanted to say that two other things that Elise mentioned. The majority of the time is asynchronous, meaning you have access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to your courses. But it's not self-paced. So there are deadlines for assignments that, generally on a weekly basis. We do have synchronous office hours. There's options for synchronous discussions during the week. So there are options to engage synchronously throughout your time in the courses, throughout the course. And there's not necessarily required synchronous time during the classes, but there are those options throughout the weeks as well. And I will just add one other final thing, that we do completely understand that folks are balancing family, community, work commitments, and that's one of the most incredible parts about this program, aspects of this program, because it enhances the learning environment in a range of dynamic ways. There's opportunities for students through the discussion forums to talk about how they're applying course content, ideas, concepts in real time in their workplaces. And so there's it's a very collegial learning environment. And I think that that's actually one of the most exciting parts about being able to be a teacher learner in the program. Okay, those are my additional 2 cents there.
Awesome. And I think it's actually a great segue. I'll actually just, Evan, if you're okay, I'll let you kind of continue talking specifically about the interdisciplinary curriculum.
Sure. And so this is an example. This is not a required pathway. There's probably a student that has gone, or 2 that have gone through their course mapping this way. But you'll see here in the fall of the first year. So this is somebody who's starting in the fall. They would take health and social behavior and their EPI course. These are 2. This is part of the required. There's 5 core required five required core and breath courses, and those you take in your first year, and then the interdisciplinary seminar is a program requirement. And so then you'd take health and social behavior, then you'd move into the spring, you would take your second 2 required courses into environmental health sciences and probability and statistics, biostatistics. And so you see, as you're moving through the first year, you're also being introduced to the different fields of public health. And then in the summer, these are consecutive. These would be consecutive courses, so you're not taking full semester. You have the Intro to Health Policy Management, and that's, as Elise mentioned, that course ends with our first campus visit. And so you'll have gone through those 5 courses in kind of consecutively over that first 3 terms. And then you have an option in your summer 2 spot to begin to take either a course that you are been really planning to take, an elective course. If at this point you think you might want to move into another concentration, it could be an option to start thinking about that. And so we do have options for people to move into concentrations after their 4th term, if they would like to, or by their 4th term, if they'd like to do that, if you'd like to specialize. Program planning is one of our recommended courses in interdisciplinary. And so we have recommended courses there. Beyond the required courses, there are no other required courses. So we have, beyond the breadth courses and 280 and the interdisciplinary seminar, which is 289. This is what it's called in the program. We do have recommended courses, and program planning is one of them. If you have a lot of experience, this is a good example where if somebody has a great deal of experience in program planning, then we might look at different options for the summer, and you could choose a different choice. And then in there, the second, and you start your 2nd year, and this is where you're starting to map. You're really thinking about, okay, what do I want in terms of my toolbox? In this case, the student said, I really want to have a policy course. I'm really thinking about policy level interventions. I want to take this, I would like to take the policy methods course that helps me to learn about that process. And this is a course that lives in the health policy and management concentration, but here you're pulling from courses in different concentrations as you build your course map. We have outbreak investigation here, which comes from the epibiostats. And so you might be thinking about, I would also like these skills in outbreak. Maybe I will be thinking about policy and program planning to address outbreaks. The spring, we turn to the Intro to Survey Method. This is another recommended course for interdisciplinary students, though it's not required. And the GIS. So here, this is where this student really was thinking about, what methods do I want to focus on? I want to make sure I have survey methods down. I want to learn how to do spatial data mapping for communities. And so building my toolbox in the method space. The summer, you start off with your interdisciplinary seminar with our 2nd visit. Moving into mass communications. And then the fall, there is the health economics course. These courses are actually not offered both times in the fall, but these are examples of somebody who would be interested in also adding skills from economics, maybe cost effectiveness analysis, behavioral economic intervention. So some of these teach some of those different skills. You'll notice here too that you see the practicum as indicated to be completed by the 2nd to last semester, and then the comprehensive exam, our capstone, in that last fall. So this is just a way to see how someone might be pulling from a range of different fields as they build their course map.
Thank you so much for going over the interdisciplinary curriculum. And you mentioned practicum, so this is a really great segue. So every student in the online MPH program will participate in practicum, and there's a lot of different ways that students can complete their practicum. So, there's certainly the option to, if you're already working in the public health space, some folks are able to use their current employment, but there are a lot of exciting opportunities, and we actually have a whole office dedicated toward supporting your practicum experience. A little bit more, the practicum is a structured pathway for students to obtain practical experience within the field of public health and practice the skills that they have acquired in the curriculum. So, for some of you, maybe you are already working in a public health field, but a lot of folks in our program are career changers. And so this is just a really exciting opportunity to either get, to get firsthand experience in a public health field, or if you're already working in that space, to kind of get exposure or work on exposure to a new area, working with a new population, or work on a special project. And so it is a minimum of 130 hours. It's self-directed, but again, we have an entire office called our RISE office that is dedicated to supporting your practicum experience. And you can begin your practicum as early as your second semester in the program. So we definitely encourage folks to start thinking about it early on and to get started as soon as they're able. Evan, would you like to share a little bit more about practicum, and maybe if you know of some like interesting practicums that our interdisciplinary students have done in the past?
Sure. Thanks, Elise. Yeah, the practicum is something also that you'll talk about with we'll discuss in faculty advising meetings, and thinking about how does the practicum help you along your pathway of developing your skills. And really, I think about the practicum as an opportunity to create your own syllabus for an applied practice experience. And so you're really selecting the public health competencies, including leadership competencies that you would like to strengthen or build. I think many people come in with a great deal of a rich array of competencies, so it may be just strengthening them through a public health lens, but an opportunity for you to think about an applied practice that would help you to really further develop or strengthen or build those competencies. So to give an example of where I know of folks have done practicums within their workplace. We had had a student once who was working in a large pharmaceutical lab and was really interested. They had a global health arm, and they knew that there were shipments of the medicines they were creating that would go out to global partners. And so coming into the MPH program, what they decided to do for their practicum was find out, let me do a practicum in another part of this same company in this division to better understand what's happening. They started thinking about, they're sort of in the lab space. They started thinking about, well, if I'm moving from sort of creating medicines for individuals to thinking broadly about how this impacts population health, sort of getting that vision, that approach, and went and completed their practicum in the global health partner arm of their organization, and really learned more about how the work was happening there, expanded sort of what they wanted to do, and thought about ways to change the work they might be doing in their current position. We've had students go into other organizations and help develop projects, evaluate program components, where they've been able to stay on past their 130 hours and see the project or the evaluation come to fruition, see the impacts. Some people have actually gone on to join the organization that they had the practice that they conducted the practicum with. We've had students use with the evaluation for health and social programs, which is one of our recommended courses in interdisciplinary, they actually created an evaluation plan for a project that they were doing. This was with Indian Health Services in Arizona, and it was around it was a suicide prevention initiative. The evaluation then led to an opportunity for funding, and they were able to fund a program. And so really also lifting their deliverable to make local impact much, a reach and impact far beyond that original practicum. A lot of our work in advising, we always talk about, where are you with your practicum? Have you met with RISE office? Is there a course that you would, that you're thinking about that you'd like to take in the term that you're going to be working on your practicum? And so we've had students, there are courses throughout the program, some of them we had listed in that sample curriculum, that students have essentially lifted what they've learned in that class and applied it and used it and created deliverables in their practicum. So we are coordinating all that advising and these parts of the program so that you feel that alignment and are able to get the applied practice aspect of what you're learning in the classroom as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'll dig into some of the logistics of the program. Of course, tuition fees is, obviously a huge factor in this big decision. So we want to go over that with you. Currently, our cost of attendance is $1,478 per enrolled unit. And once again, the program is 42 units in total. There are some additional fees. I'll highlight, for instance, the Berkeley campus fee. Now, sometimes folks ask questions, it's an online program. Why is there a campus fee? And what I like to reiterate is, first and foremost, our students are UC Berkeley students. So you are not just an online student, you are a UC Berkeley student. And that means you have access to all of the amenities and campus amenities that any other UC Berkeley student would have. So, you have access to our library, which has, a ton of resources that can be accessed remotely. There are all sorts of various offices and trainings. The RISE office, for instance, that we were talking about, that helps manage practicum. The campus fee, is part of that service, and all of those things that are accessible to you as a remote student as well. There is a student health insurance fee. You do have the option to waive this fee if you have health insurance already through another method. There is a document management fee, our instructional resilience and enhancement fee, and that brings the total cost, if you choose to waive the student health insurance plan, brings the total cost to $67,786. And just to note that the price per unit can change. Now, paying for your degree, there's definitely a lot of different options. Of course, self-funded is one way to pay for the program. So that would be, you're covering the cost yourself out of pocket. Another way to cover and I will add that there are payment plans available. So, you certainly you're not expected to make that payment in lump sum. There's payment plans available. Federal student aid is available to qualified applicants. So I highly encourage everyone to complete their FAFSA if you've not already done so. I do always give the disclaimer that at the graduate level, federal student aid is primarily unsubsidized student loans, but that is a resource that is accessible to qualified applicants. We talked a little bit about payment plans that are available. Employer sponsorship. So again, we know that many of our students are working professionals, so highly encourage you to look into your employer's tuition benefits or any educational benefits that they might offer. A lot of companies do offer some education benefits, or like tuition reimbursement for specific training. So definitely look into that. And we even have had students who ask their employer, like maybe there isn't a spelled out benefit, but will ask their employer if they are able to cover all or a portion, or sponsor them to complete this program, because you're adding, especially if you choose to stay with your company, you're really adding to the skill set and the knowledge base of that company. So definitely check out that pathway. And then internally, we are really excited to offer 3 different scholarships for students. So we have the Dean's Health Equity and Leadership Award, which covers tuition for 7 units. We have the Rural Health Innovation Program. This is only available during spring semesters, but it is a fully funded scholarship opportunity. In spring of 25, we will be awarding 25 students this fully funded scholarship opportunity. And it's really for folks who are living and working in rural communities and have a specific interest in working on rural health initiatives. So definitely feel free to ask us more about that, or you can check out our website for more information about that program. And then for fall of 24, we will also have 1 fully funded Global Health Leadership Scholarship. And this will be a fully funded scholarship for 1 student living and working in India. All right, so I'll run through this application checklist fairly quickly, but then after that, Evan, I'd love to hear, what you think makes a strong applicant to our program. But basically, the minimum qualifications we're looking for is that you have some stats or college level math with a B+ or higher. Ideally, familiarity and aptitude with biological or social sciences. We do ask for a minimum GPA of a 3.0. However, there are exceptions to that. Actually, I'll pause for a moment and just preface by saying that we do holistic review here at Berkeley Public Health. We really try to take your entire application package into consideration and look at your experiences as holistically as possible. So, you might be seeing things like prerequisites or minimum qualifications here, but know that there are exceptions, there can be exceptions, and we're open to hearing, your specific circumstances. So we would like to, but generally speaking, again, we like to look at your academic history through looking at your GPA, your advanced GPA, which is your most recent 2 years of education experience. We will need to see all transcripts. We'd like to get to know you a little bit more through a personal history statement and your statement of purpose. We do ask for 3 letters of recommendation, your resume to give us a little bit more information about your experience. And then there is an application fee, which is $135 for US domestic students, $155 for international applicants. And then we do not require the GRE. If you have taken it, though, you are welcome to send that to us. All right, so Evan, I'd love to hear from you. What are things that you look for in an applicant or that you think make a compelling interdisciplinary applicant?
Thanks, Elise. And I know there's some great questions in chat, so I want to make we'll have some time to get to Q&A, and yeah, I want to definitely answer those questions. So some great experience on this call based on what people have written in the chat. So when we're reviewing it, as Elise shared, yeah, we do approach all of our review through a holistic lens. There's this range of reviewers that review each application in order to have a robust process and a highly reviewed rubric. I would say the GPA requirement is also one that that's set by the graduate division. And so it is part of our program as well for that reason. I think in terms of in terms of sort of the personal statement or the statement of purpose, understanding, even if you're pivoting careers, if you haven't been in necessarily what we might think of conventional public health workspaces, why this program? Why now? What is it about public health? Who are you interested in working with? What communities do you want to work with? What issues inspire you? Are you familiar with the program? Are there courses or faculty you're interested in, or is there something about the online option that is really appealing because of its flexibility or what it means to you to be able to be involved in completing a graduate degree, but also being able to continue to work. So having a clear sense of why this program, why public health, why now, I think are really, really key pieces. And we also want to learn a little bit about your story that provides in your personal history. Maybe this also comes through in your letters of recommendation, but a little bit about your context of how you came to this decision, but your context of achievement. If there were factors that you felt were important to understand about who you are and your story and your journey in the context of looking at your grades and your transcripts and you kind of put all these pieces together to try to have your resume or CV, and you're trying to get as much of a robust picture of who someone is. But we know that's always that there's, there'll be pieces about people's lives and lived experience and work experience and educational experience that will be left out. And it's not, you don't have a huge amount of space to communicate all of this, but these are some of the things we look at. And it helps us to see if we are looking at application, and the different pieces help to give us a robust sort of a picture of why this makes sense now. And I think and it can look really different for different people, but being able to put those pieces together, I think is really the key.
All right, so we are accepting applications right now for our fall 24 application cycle. So you have until March 3rd to apply for fall 24. If you're not quite ready and need a little bit more time, you can actually also go ahead and start your application for spring of 25, and that application will be open until August 8th. And I'll try to get through our last couple slides and make sure we have time for Q&A. So we just wanted to take a moment to highlight our student outcomes. So in our most recent graduating class, our class that graduated in 2023, we reported an average of $111,000 is the average salary for our grads. You can see on the right there just some of the, a small sample of places where our students go on to work. And some different job titles. So, Evan said it, like public health is everywhere. It's in every industry, and you'll really see that represented in our alumni. They're working as financial analysts, as data analysts. Maybe they're going into academia or working for a pharmaceutical company. It might be healthcare management or community-based health. They might be working in nonprofits. So we really have alum in a lot of different spaces doing a lot of exciting things. All right, and just some, the last few kind of things we want to leave you with is that UC Berkeley, us, it's a top tier education. We've been consistently ranked one of the top 10 online MPH programs. We were ranked #1 by University HQ. So, definitely you can have confidence in the reputation of our program. It really is an enriching curriculum. Evan spoke on this, but it is challenging, collaborative. They're really designed to help you address public health issues in real time in your specific community. And then we have just the online program has over 500 alum and 190 students currently enrolled. So not only do you have access to the 18,000 plus Berkeley Public Health alumni network, but just the online just the online program has over 500 alums that you can network with. All right, and our last note here is just that we have another upcoming information session on February 21st. So if you're interested in learning more about our nutrition concentration, we would welcome you to join us there. And with that, let's dive into some questions. So I know we've been getting some in the chat. So I'll go ahead and take a look at those. And thank you for your patience. Okay, so I see one from Robin. I'm working in the public health field as a disability, sexual and reproductive health educator. My work has generally been freelance. I do education with medical professionals, medical students, organizational universities. Would this work be able to be used as practicum hours? So I think it's, I'm not sure if you're asking if like it can be used retroactively, like past work, if that can apply. But certainly, you can use your current employer in some cases as your practicum. Evan, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more to that.
So it does sound like you're in an environment where you could carve out a really great practicum. So what the practicum should distinguish between your current work. And so the idea is that it would It could build on, but there's like two reasons for that. One, we'd hope that the practicum would help you to further strengthen or develop new competencies in public health. And so you could carve out a project that maybe that you take the survey class and you decide that you might want to evaluate one of the health education programs. And so you're going to create a survey as one of your deliverables to help do that. So you're really developing and strengthening a skill that will help build on what you're currently doing. The other reason is we want the practicum to be distinct from actually your work deliverables, because it's a learning it's a learning experience, and there might, as you're learning something, we don't want that to get conflated with a performance review or have sort of any kind of issues related to a conflict of interest there. So you certainly, and people, there's many students that do practicums within their work. They identify a preceptor. It may not be a supervisor. It might be another colleague or somebody else in another part of the department or in a different role. But yeah, you can, it does sound like there's probably a lot of opportunity to create a practicum out of your current workplace, but it would be something that's different from what your current, it would be adding something that you'd carve out that would be a little bit different. I hope that helps to clarify.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Evan. That was super helpful. I see I answered a couple questions in the chat, so I'm going to skip down and ask or read the question from Audrey about what NA means, and that just means there's no priority, or what NA means for the spring 24 admissions deadline. That just means there's no priority deadline. There's just one final deadline for our spring cycle. So that means August 8th is the only deadline for spring 25. And there's a question about if there will be an info session for the on-campus MPH. Definitely. This information session is specifically for the online program, but definitely check out the website for upcoming events that our on-campus program is offering.